Hello, my name is Brian, and welcome to Stochastic Agency. And here we are today on August 1st with our very first question of who would you like to introduce to RPGs? And I'm not really thinking of any particular person who is going to be getting into or I would like to introduce to RPGs. Most people who know me know the kind of hobbies I have, and I've talked to pretty much all of them. But when I meet somebody new, I'm always looking for someone who is like a PC gamer. Not someone who's playing Unreal Tournament or the latest and greatest first person shooter, like in a competitive style, but probably someone who's more like playing a Skyrim or is playing a Red Dead Redemption or Fallout, whatever it may be. It's a genre game. And the reason I say that is because the system likely contains some familiar concepts like levels, timers, classes and archetypes, and other things that are very similar to what we use at the tabletop. These things can go on for quite some time. So on and so on. But I really do think that these people have enough of an interest in what's going on in a genre game to have their interest piqued into coming over and playing at a tabletop with a group of people. When we think about it, there's a lot of things that we can and can't do in a PC game that we can do more of, or and sometimes less of, in a tabletop game. Now, definitely one of the things that leaps to mind is something that everybody always talks about, and that's player agency. In the PC game, you really can only do what the programmers or the modders of the game program you to be able to do. So it's kind of limited. Granted, some of these people are pretty imaginative, but you really can't go off the beaten path and do more than have some kind of random encounter with something out in the greater map of the world. Whereas at a tabletop game, with it being more interactive with the people at the table, it gives you the opportunity to have more spontaneity, to have more interactions that are not so scripted, more options for interacting, more choices when interacting, the ability to go into more places that are unwritten, so to speak, or unprogrammed versus a PC game. So this kind of freedom of movement is one of the things that I'm really thinking would pique the interest of someone who is hoping to get a little bit more. And granted, given everything that's going on in the tabletop industry and has gone on in the past, we're probably looking at someone who's heard a lot about it. There's been more exposure to tabletop games, whether that's card games, board games, or role-playing games in specific, since we're talking about RPG a day. And more than likely, they have probably come across a few videos on YouTube and seen actual plays, and maybe it's piqued their interest, and now they're kind of looking for a group of people that they could really sit down at a table with, and for once, be able to have a conversation with a non-player character that isn't just, I choose this question, I get this reply, here's my quest, ding, I level up, or ding, my skill gets better. So when the bell rings, and everybody kind of keeps going on and playing. Now, granted, in MMOs, you can have a lot of interaction with other players and other players' avatars. But again, it's limited to being able to emote, do some kind of fancy dance, or whatever it might be. But the conversation that you have with someone is a decent amount of interaction. But there's no agency really from it other than to say, hey, will you help me with this raid? Or hey, do you have this item that we could trade back and forth? Other than that, there's not really a whole lot that you can get away with, so to speak, in a computer game. So that limited framework versus the nearly unlimited framework that you get from an RPG when playing it at a tabletop. The interaction, the emergent qualities of playing a tabletop game are something that I would think that would attract people in that kind of hobby. They're interested in science fiction. They're interested in the same genres that we are, horror, Old West, whatever it might be. But maybe they're looking for a little bit more. Maybe they're looking for a bit of that taste of human interaction, having a conversation, and sitting at a table and actually interacting with people in real space. Although virtual tabletops can definitely give you that same kind of near gratification, but in some respects, even then, you miss out on body language. There's always issues with technology and things like that. But it can be a way to open the door up if you find someone that you've met online via WoW or maybe Skyrim online or Fallout online, whatever it might be. And they've said, hey, I'm really interested in kind of trying to play this game, Mutant Year Zero, or this game, Traveler. I've heard a lot about D&D, or I've heard about this game called Genesis. What is that? Do you play that kind of game? And that's how the conversation can kind of get rolling, right? So that's kind of my take on it. Who am I looking for, or who am I really interested in introducing to RPGs? It's not really a specific person. It's more like a specific group of people that I'm really interested in trying to get them started. So with that being said, it's kind of the end of it for August 1st. My first video posting here, or full video posting here for Stochastic Agency. Hope you guys all have a good time. Get out there, play some games, and find somebody to introduce and get them playing.